To Her Excellency Bestine Nahimana, Ambassador of the Republic of Burundi. You have the floor, Madam.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman of the Conference, Director General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me, at the outset, Mr. Chairman, to align myself with other speakers and those participants who congratulated you on your election as chairperson of this very important international assembly. Allow me also to take this occasion to congratulate all those people who have been elected to other functions within our institution, such as the vice presidents, the vice chairs, and the members of the General Committee as well. My delegation would also like to express our sincere gratitude for the high-quality work which has been carried out throughout 2015 by the staff of the OPCW in general and by those teams who have been in charge of inspections and verifications in particular. Burundi, as a state party to the OPCW who does not produce chemical weapons, remains concerned by the continued manufacture and use of all types of arms, in particular chemical weapons, in spite of the combat which the OPCW is carrying out so as to eliminate these weapons. Even more today than in the past, Burundi is concerned and fears the worst terrorist actions which have already carried off human lives this year in Nigeria, in Kenya, in the countries of Maghreb and sub-Saharan Africa, as well as very recently in France. The presence of Burundi's military and police personnel in peacekeeping missions in Somalia and in Central Africa, as well as in other places, shows how committed Burundi is to eliminating this scourge that is terrorism. As to the OPCW, Burundi notes with satisfaction the results obtained by the OPCW services and thinks that the convention's maturity has been proven. Statistics have shown that humanity is capable of ridding itself in a record time of so many old and abandoned weapons without even taking into account the destruction and conversion of chemical weapons that we've already seen. In fact, over the 17 years of its existence, the OPCW has demonstrated that the convention has shown that it is the only multilateral treaty which embodies complete general disarmament with international monitoring and very strict international monitoring. Thanks to its expertise and with the high level of professionalism of their personnel, nobody here can doubt that the convention has allowed humanity to come to a better world where chemical weapons will no longer have a role to play. In this time period, then, the states parties to the convention have understood and noted with satisfaction that the implementation of the only multilateral instrument which deals with full and complete disarmament is part of globalization, where transparency is de rigueur, where we see it everywhere, and everything ends up being known, thanks in particular to those inspections which are carried out by the OPCW. For our part, in spite of the internal issues that we are facing, Burundi will never stop moving dynamically in the direction of honoring its commitments under the Convention. This is how we will continue to regularly fulfill our financial obligations under the budget for the OPCW and to pay our modest voluntary contribution under Article 10 to the CWC. Mr. Chairman, touching yet again on the implementation of the Convention, the Burundi National Authority regularly participates in meetings organized so as to give their annual declaration on chemical products in accordance with Article 4 of the Convention. I should like to affirm now that Burundi has also introduced a class on chemical weapons into the military academy and the police academy, at the same time that we are playing an active role in implementing the Convention and especially playing an active role in the programs and activities in the region so as to help facilitate the implementation of the Convention's objectives. As to the national application measures under Article 7, I am particularly happy to bring to the attention of the Conference of States Parties that the Burundi National Authority is part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, together with the OPCW, are working in a more enlarged framework with other ministries, in particular Ministry of Public Security, the Ministry of National Defense and Veterans, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finances, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Ministry of Land, Environment and Tourism, the Ministry of Public Health, the Ministry of Energy and Mines, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. As to the embodiment of the Convention in our internal legislation, we should note to you that the law, which is our criminal code in Burundi, has been implemented through the adoption procedure and of the Convention. In this way, Law Number 1/01 of February 17, 2009, on implementing the Convention's prohibitions on manufacture, stocking, and using chemical weapons, was promulgated by the President of the Republic of Burundi. To this end, with the support of the OPCW, the government of Burundi has organized a national workshop for awareness raising. So for the decision makers in the Burundi National Authority on the Convention. To recall, Burundi ratified law number 1/34 of December 12, 2014, of the agreement between the Republic of Burundi and the OPCW on the privileges and immunities of the OPCW. The ratification instruments were deposited at with the organization, and the organization has been informed in a timely manner. Mr. Chairman, touching briefly now on the law implementing the Convention, which was promulgated, I feel it's important to emphasize that the legislators were basing themselves on the standard legislation that is in accordance with the OPCW standards. In fact, after the request by the government of Burundi, the legislators were able to benefit from the aid from the American National Authority and the legal advisor of the OPCW to prepare together the draft law for the Burundi National Authority. As to national application members, Burundi is working in this, strictly respecting the concept to promote the peaceful use of chemicals so as to contribute to the economic and technological development of our country and other states parties of the Convention and of the rest of the world. Moreover, we should note the provisions of Article 7 of the Convention by affirming that, according to this article, Burundi has already implemented a national authority which is working in accordance with the OPCW rules. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the OPCW from the bottom of my heart for the many different forms of support that you have given to my country and for the excellent organization of this session of the conference. I would like to wish all of you a productive work. I also would like to reiterate the commitment of Burundi to support the efforts of our prestigious institution, which are aimed at reaching our vision of 2025 and to continue to combat terrorism everywhere throughout the world to our best abilities. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that you circulate this declaration as an official document of this session. Thank you. Thank you, says the chairman. Thank you very much for your declaration.